We're here in Monte Carlo for the Rendez-Vous de Septembre. For AM Best TV, I'm Richard Banks. And I'm joined now by Jean-Paul Conoscente, who's the CEO for Scor P&C. Jean-Paul, welcome.
Good morning.
We're back in Monte Carlo, first time for a few years. How's it been?
Oh, it's great. It's great to reconnect with people. It's great to see so many familiar faces that we've just seen on camera for so long. And it's nice to be in the familiar settings. So it's been great just catching up with people.
A lot to talk about. Pricing and inflation have been high on the agenda this week. What's the message that Scor's been bringing to people?
Yeah, absolutely. Inflation is something that we're really concerned about. So we've been asking people, how do they take that into account in their business? It affects sums insured. It affects loss cost. So there's been a lot of digging into what's behind and how inflation is taken into account. On pricing, after 5 years of underperformance by the reinsurance industry and by stellar performance by generally the insurance industry, the conversation is, the volatility the reinsurers have been absorbing has to be repriced and probably a better share between insurers and reinsurers.
And how's that message being received?
It's being heard. I think we'll see over the next few weeks, next few months, how well this has been incorporated. I think typically, Monte Carlo is where the messaging from reinsurers is given. And then, Baden-Baden for the Europeans, CIAB, PCI for the US companies is where, we get more into the details. So I think this is going to be developing over the next few weeks.
So maybe a hardening market seems to be one of the messages.
Definitely hardening. The matter is, what does hardening mean? Is it just a double-digit rate increase? Is it, adjustment of terms and conditions? And we believe at Scor it's both. It's, adjustment of terms and conditions and price increases.
And availability of capacity.
I think capacity generally in the marketplace is available at adequate price and adequate terms and conditions. I think the issue we've had as an industry is we've been surprised. COVID is a surprise. Floods have been a surprise. Hail, BI following hail has been a surprise. So, to what point can the industry keep having surprises that have been on the price? So I think that's the main focus of the conversation.
So a number of points there you're making about natural catastrophes. Scor's one of the companies that's retrenched a little bit from Nat Cat exposures. What was the decision there, and where do you see other opportunities?
I think as a company, first we had over time grew our cat book faster than the rest of the portfolio. So we had a balance issue between cat and non-cat, and we've rebalanced this. The second point is, we were very exposed to frequency that has been, underpriced. So I think we reduced the amount of programs where we're exposed to this frequency. Going forward, we really have, plenty of capacity. We're still a very big cat writer, and cat is a core element of the relationship we have with our clients. So there's no intent to retrench or exit cat. What we want to do is be there for our clients, but at a price that's sustainable over time.
So the last 3 years have changed people's perception of risk a bit. How do you think people are looking at insurance now? What opportunities presented?
I think COVID has been a bad experience for people with insurance. I think it comes from maybe a lack of understanding of how the policies work. Also, a little bit of the expectation that insurance should pay no matter what. And I think it's really up to the industry to be a bit more proactive on communication, on being clear with the policyholders, and also maybe developing further help with new products to the industry.
And we've seen government intervention, perhaps is the right word. Is that a sustainable long-term approach, do you think?
I think the government has faced a huge crisis, and they were trying to look for partners to help them solve the crisis. The capital of the entire industry was not sufficient to face the economic catastrophe that COVID created. So I think the government had to step in. But I think going forward, some type of partnership between the public and the private sector maybe can continue, but the private sector has to price the risk adequately, and then it creates the question of affordability of the insurance, and that's where we need government's help.
It seems you can't have a meeting of reinsurers without talking about ESG these days, the sustainability agenda really hot at the moment. Scor, like AM Best, is a signatory of the UN Principle for Sustainable Insurance, but some of the challenges, the geopolitical challenges out there, maybe threaten to derail the drive towards sustainability. Have you got some thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think there's no change of direction. I mean, I think as a society, we really need to keep going down the route of reducing our carbon footprint, of being more aware of the health of the planet. And so I think, the crisis has maybe put a small pause, especially with the energy crisis in Europe. But I think the path going forward is very clear. I think a lot of focus has been on negative. What do you exclude? What do you stop writing? Trying to force on the industry political actions that the governments are not taking. I think we have to continue looking at that. But I think really what the industry has a role to play is how can we help the energy transition by offering new products, by combining the existing products into an offer that is appealing to banks, to construction companies, to energy companies, and help them with this transition.
John Paul, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
For AM Best TV, I'm Richard Banks.